Okay, we're back. Continuing our discussion, this time on the homestead exemption.
When we were last together. Wide ranging conversations over the property tax credit currently versus a new homestead exemption. I think the only thing that we agreed on at this point is that an exemption is preferable to a complex property tax credit. We're all that of mind? Great. That's good. I think we call it a day. And that
Over the governor's proposal.
should we be proposing? Yes. Should be pursuing what we had been exploring with JFO. Should we review what the governor's proposal was at this point for the same type of program? We did talk about the $115,000, so we have that answer. Really, that's what current statute is, or what we're currently using to model what education fund expenses are, or the education outlook. So we do have that from JFO to say it's not a made up number. It has some kind of relevance. We didn't talk about, or didn't establish whether or not there is a cap if we use an exemption on value. We talked about a couple of different ones. We made no decision. And then we didn't talk about how we pay for the homestead exemption except by increasing property taxes. I think that's where we left off, Mr. Chair.
So, Julia, could you give us a brief description of the governor's proposal?
Julia Richter, JFO, the governor's homestead exemption proposal? Is that what you're referring to? Yes, I can, I will need to pull it up.
Its thing is called property tax exemption as opposed to homestead exemption. But that's take the file there.
Yeah. Chair, would you like me to talk through it? Would it be helpful to see a slide? What would you prefer?
You got a slides?
I have Jake's slides pulled up. Okay.
That's St. James coming in a little bit.
That's why our break was 5 minutes.
So we missed that memo.
Okay, so I'm going ahead and sharing. These are not my slides. I am showing Jake Feldman's slides. I do think that if you are especially interested in exploring the tax department's proposal, I would defer to the tax department to speak about it. In terms of the mechanics of what we're looking at here, this is the proposed framework. So it's essentially the way to read this is these are those household income groups, right? 0 to 47,000 would be able to exempt up to 60% of their house site with a maximum exemption of 200,000.
Where are you?
I am on, this is from Jake Feldman, February 4th, 2025. He presented slides called Property Tax Credit Proposal. I can send the link to Erin.
I'm reposting it.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Erin is amazing. Thank you. So this is the slide deck with a maximum exemption of 200,000. This is the earned exemption, so the a little bit different than the exemption that we've been talking about so far. So the household income up to 47,000 with a 60% exemption. They had an additional 10% for seniors in that band. 47 to 90, 50%, 90 to 125, 10%. And I actually realized, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second because I remember I put together an image of this that outlined the tax department's
Yeah.
proposal, which might also be helpful. Just need to find it.
You're not proposing this, you're helping us evaluate our options.
Yes, thank you.
Because you're unbiased.
Thank you.
And nonpartisan.
And nonpartisan, love it. Yes, that is me.
Sorry, Julia.
So this is the proposal from the administration. This is now presented in a construct in the slides that you're more familiar with as we've been looking through the draft 1.1. So you see that same table
Oh, yeah.
here, and then the visual that I put together where you see the exemption is the blue, and the green is, this is the maximum exemption, and the green is representing the percentage exemption. And then these are the estimated average impacts of the proposal by income and property value. So the table is different colors, but the reading of it is the same, right? So for the income, household income, 0 to 10,000, and a house site value of 0 to 100,000, they would say an estimated increase in their tax bill by $100. So you see that the impacts look different than the house site exemption that is in draft 1.1 because they're structured in different ways. That's why we see those differences.
I thought on the previous slide, wasn't there $125,000 over? So, and then in your next slide, it only goes up to 115.
Oh, you're right. Good catch.
No, because we're comparing what people have under today's property tax credit, which does end at 115, with what the new proposal is. So they're saying if you take a snapshot of like where these buckets are right now under the property tax credit, just looking at where people are now, and then how that proposal would impact those people. So it's not trying to match Jake's proposal, it's just saying layered over what we have now, this is what the governor's proposal would look like. And that's why we had them go away, and that's why we had Julia do so much work to go away, because we didn't like the fact that all of those lower income buckets showed up red with higher property tax bills under this proposal.
Yeah. There's a slide in Jake's original proposal that it has the over 125 on it, but it says that was the 2023 income limit. 2024 is down to 115 and 2026 will be question mark.
Right.
So it's, I don't know what's going to say.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
What?
There was a slide that she showed. No, the point is, I think they're making a proposal that they're just gonna settle in it, because right now that 115 is an algebraic equation. But they are proposing, I think, to set a 125 limit.
Yeah, so the different, yes.
in the new
I think the way that you summarized it is how I would summarize it. The primary, this difference between 115 and 125 is just a different in the structure of the exemption, right? So in the draft 1.1 exemption, we were seeing however many, I don't know, 10 of these household income bands with a corresponding exemption, and it went up to 115 where it was phased out. This proposal has 3 groups, and then instead of it being phased out at 115, it's phased out at 125. So that's the only, not the only difference, but that's why we're seeing 125 versus 115. It's just different structures.
Thanks.
Sure.
So that is today versus the proposal, yes?
Yeah, so this table, Jake and I have been following all of the same, I replicated his work. We've been following all of the same assumptions. And looking at current law, estimated tax bill, if the FY 25 credit were to be applied in the same year versus different homestead exemptions. So this table that we're looking at here with the reds and greens is saying current law versus the administration's proposal, in which case incomes of 0 to 10K and over 400K would see an increase in their tax on average of $1,900.
Be an increase.
Increase. So all of these reds are increases. So one of the things that I was asked to do in terms of working on the modeling for figuring out draft 1.1 was there was a desire expressed to not increase the average liability on the lowest household incomes.
Mhm.
That's a policy choice, but that's why we are seeing those differences is the draft 1.1 exemption was structured in such a way to change the dynamic that we see in this chart.
It's the Christmas tree slide.
Good, do we have in the governor's original proposal, was there an increase to the, money coming back, the property tax exemption overall, or no?
Like the 45 million?
Yeah,
No. So the administration's proposal modeled this in such a way that it cost the same, the homestead exemption cost the same amount as the current property tax credit.
But they're simpler, but more people
okay.
Lower income
have
level.
to pay, benefits fewer people.
Fewer people fighting.
So if we compare the graphic, what we have is red and numbers there, that would be white on what we've been working with Julie's proposal, those people that miss out.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the,
There's no rule out.
yeah, so, in case you can't see all colors, also the, what we're referring to as green are the parentheses, that's a minus in accounting. So that's one of the other reasons why we shift to presenting the cell with blue for a decrease and white, because you can see the shade difference.
I mean, it's interesting, that is showing you though, the impact of property value increases. If you look at where the pressure, it's because of property value increases, not increases in income. That's why it looks like that.
The other thing that I do want to flag in terms of interpreting this is none of these groups are the same width, right? So we're looking 0 to 10, 10 to 25, 25 to 47, 47 and 90. So they're not all the same size. The same goes for the house site value. In one of his slides, yeah, so here, he got at that by applying on the same slide, the counts that fall into each one of these cells along with the estimated change, right? So 400 households on, 400 households fall into this 0 to 10, 0 to 100. And they would be estimated to see an average increase of 100.
So that's why we're looking for an alternative, because so many people got missed.
Right.
It just speaks to how the housing shortage in Vermont is particularly near jobs is hurting us in every single budget.
So, Mr. Chair, still on the homestead exemption then. Not sure if we're closer to feeling the same way on things. So the language, we're gonna hear from Stephanie Yu tomorrow. from Public Assets Institute. She's talked to us before about modifying the grid. People want to wait to make any decisions on this particular thing until,
I've been testimony, yeah.
Yes.
That's why I stood with that. Okay,
Waiting is always good, one form or another.
Well, could you tell the governor that?
Oh, walked into that.
is that, you're talking about your,
Open myself up for that one.
percent limit over EOP waiting?
Oh.
Um,